Hi, I'm Di. Welcome to my channel. For those coming back, thanks for returning. Must mean that you've enjoyed the previous videos. And for those that are new, what my channel's about is, as it says, Di's Home and Garden. So it's my home and garden. And today we're actually in the kitchen and we're going to be doing some cooking. Now, I cook a lot of Maltese recipes. I am not Maltese, and I would have to put out a big disclaimer here that these are not authentic Maltese recipes. They are an Aussie's version of Maltese recipes. So if you think, well, this isn't the way we do it because you're a Maltese, just leave a comment below. But what I've found, and it's not just Maltese, it's even my English heritage, Scottish heritage, Irish. Everyone will pass, or every family passes recipes down, and they get tweaked a bit and they get changed. So you might find that your family might make a recipe and your auntie makes the same one, but it's a little bit varied. So as I say, everybody has their own versions of recipes, and I'm not Maltese. So please don't get all upset that this is not pure traditional Maltese cooking. It's loosely based on the Maltese recipes. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this video in a few stages, the first thing I'm going to cook is, and again, I don't know the proper names for it, but my family call it Maltese Special Sauce. And it's used as a basis for many recipes, many Maltese recipes. So we'll start by making the sauce, and then there will be a few more recipes where I use that sauce, but I'll come back and do those and add them onto the video. So we'll see that this will be probably filmed over a few days. Okay, so let's have a look at the ingredients that we need for this Maltese Special Sauce. So the first thing we need is tomato paste. And as you'll see from this recipe, I don't have quantities written down. You just judge it by looking at it and even tasting it. So you'll be able to see how we do that as we work our way through the recipe. The second thing we need is olive oil. Doesn't need to be extra virgin olive oil, it can just be ordinary olive oil. You can use other oil, but whatever your preference is, but I prefer to use olive oil. The next thing we need is down the front there, you can see I've got some garlic, and I will chop that up finely. We've got pepper and salt and some sugar, and that's it. Okay, we start by putting the tomato paste into a saucepan where either a non-stick saucepan or this one is, I can't remember what they're called, stoneware or something, but this recipe does tend to stick to the bottom of a saucepan, so make sure you've got a good one, heavy base one that doesn't stick. So we put our tomato paste, and that was 500 grams. I'll just turn the heat on, and this is on a gentle heat sauce. So this is a small burner on my stove here that I'm using. And then what I've done, I've actually measured out the olive oil. So this is a cup of olive oil, and as we use it through the recipe, I'll be able to tell you at the end how much we actually used. So we just start by putting some olive oil in the bottom of that, and we'll mix that around. Because the heat is on there and it's going to start gently cooking. Now the garlic has been chopped finely, and I did use 6 cloves there. I was going to use 5, but 2 of the cloves were small, so you might like a lot more garlic. Make it this way once, and then you'll be able to judge whether you want to add more garlic the next time. So that's in there. Now, because we're using tomatoes, again, there's a lot of debate about this, whether people think there should be sugar put into the tomatoes or not, but this is probably about half a a tablespoon that I've put in there, and that's just to reduce the acid in the tomatoes. With the pepper, I only put a very little bit of pepper. I'm not a big fan of pepper, but yes, a lot of people like pepper and they put a lot in. Salt, I'm probably putting about a teaspoon of salt in there. And there it goes. It's starting to bubble away. Now, as this cooks, it will bubble and splatter. And I forgot, I've got to go and get out one of my little things to stop it from splattering everywhere. As it cooks, it absorbs that olive oil. So what we're doing, we're continually adding olive oil as it gets absorbed. So I'll just come back and I'll get the cover for this. Now this is the cover that I use. It's something that you'd use over a fry pan. It's a mesh surface so that the air can go through there, and so condensation doesn't form and we're not putting water back into it. So we won't use that yet, we'll just put that aside. But you do need to watch this because it will, you turn your back on it and it will catch on the bottom and burn very quickly. So you can stand here and stir it continually, or you can just come back every minute or two. So you can see that there's a bit of olive oil sort of sitting on the edges there. I'm waiting for that to be absorbed, and when it is, we'll put a bit more olive oil into it. And again, you don't want to cook this on a high heat because it will very quickly catch on the bottom and burn. There, it's been absorbed, so we're going to add a little bit more olive oil to that. And we'll just mix that through. So you can see the olive oil, I hope you can from there. The olive oil is actually sitting on top, and as that cooks, it's going to be absorbed. And I'm stirring it continually so that it doesn't catch on the bottom. Okay, we can add some more. And what we're doing, we're adding this olive oil until no more is absorbed. Going to let that cook for a bit, and you need to put that on because as it bubbles away it does spit. It spits right up and it'll end up coming over onto the floor, onto the backsplash, all over the stove. but more importantly, if I'm having a look at it, it will splatter up at me, and it's very hot. So we'll come back when that's a little bit further down the track. And there we have it. It won't absorb any more of the oil. So we used just under half a cup of oil with that. I would say we used about 100, I'm just having a look, about 150 mils. No, I got that wrong. Probably about 100 mils, sorry. About 100 mils of olive oil. Now it is catching on the bottom there, so I've got to be very careful with that. Now you know when it's cooked long enough, and because it starts clumping together. Now the explanation that was given to me when I was taught to make this was that it looks like brains. And I've said that to people and they go, what? But if you look at it, you think, oh yeah, that could be a good explanation. So I'll give you a close-up and you can be the judge. Okay, there we are. There's a nice close-up of what it's looking like. So it starts to clump together, and you can see why it would be described as looking like brains when you sort of look at some areas of it, yeah. So I've turned off the heat there, and now what we're going to be doing is adding hot water to the mixture. Now, we just add this in slowly, and we mix it right through. And we just keep adding enough water until we get the consistency that we want. So for different recipes, you might want it a little bit thicker or a little bit thinner. I normally describe it as looking like passata. So normally that consistency. And I've got a litre of water here, so we'll see how much water I actually use. As I said, everything I just judge by eye, and I've never really measured it out. So this is probably a good exercise. So my battery died there and I wasn't aware that it wasn't recording. So I did finish putting the water in and getting it to that consistency that we were describing. So it looks like passata. And I ended up using the water. I used 2.5 cups of water. I actually used 650 mils of water. And there you have it. So now I'm just going to put it in jars and pop it into the fridge until I'm ready to use it. So I've put it into jars now, so I've got 2 jars. That's the quantity that we got from it, and we'll use that over the next few days in various recipes. And I will bring you along on the journey. So here are the ingredients that we need for this recipe. First up, we need, that's cheese on the side. It's not butter, it's cheese. Then we need 3 eggs. Now, the way I was taught didn't have anything in it except the eggs and the sauce, but I like my spinach, that's perpetual spinach there, so you might like to also add some, or some silver beet, or you might like to add a little bit of spring onion, or just make it without anything, that's fine. We've got our sauce at the back and we'll get on to making it. The other thing that we need is spaghetti, and I've got that cooking away in the pot there. So this is what we need to do to make this recipe. First of all, we'll crack the eggs. Now, I've mentioned before I do save my eggshells. I bake them in the oven and then I grind them up so that I can use them on the garden. So again, this is a recipe that doesn't have any measurements, but I'm going to measure it out so that I can give you an idea if you want to follow it and make it for yourself. So then we add sauce to those eggs, and I'd say we would generally add about that much. That's 200 ml. So we just mix that through. Now we'll take this over the stove and start cooking it. So I just turn the pan on to heat. Oh no, I haven't got a flame. There we go. And again, it's not a very high heat. That is my smallest burner on the stove there. I'm just adding a little bit of olive oil, just so that it doesn't stick as I'm cooking it. We'll wait until that heats. I do think that the spaghetti is cooked. Yes, that is cooked. I'm using gluten-free spaghetti, but you can use spaghetti, you can use rice, you can use some macaroni if you like, or if you really push for time, some two-minute noodles would be good. So there, that should be hot enough now. So I've got my mixture here of the eggs and the sauce all mixed through, and we'll just add that. Now we just cook that as we would scrambled eggs. Going to take a little while. We'll come back when that's progressed a little. So it doesn't really take long at all. As it cooks on the bottom, you just need to be stirring that so that the uncooked portion of it can move down and get cooked. We'll let that bubble away for a while and cook through. So that's just about cooked through now. So I'm going to add my spinach. That's freshly picked from the garden this morning, so it's lovely. So I'm just going to cook that until the spinach wilts, and which doesn't take long at all. Just turn that off. Now I've put the spaghetti into a dish. All we need to do is to put that over the top. We'll just set that aside for a moment. I'll turn the heat back on the saucepan, and I'll use the same saucepan. We're just going to pour some sauce in here. Again, I'll measure it for you. So let's have a look. So that's 200 ml of sauce, and we're just wanting to heat that through. Again, as I mentioned when we were making this sauce, it does catch on the bottom very easily. So that's why I'm stirring it as I'm heating it. I don't want it to burn on the bottom, so I just need to heat that through. So once that started bubbling, I knew that it was hot enough, and we just pour the sauce over the top. There's a bit much sauce there. I suppose that I could have got away with about 100 to 150 mils of sauce. And then we top it with cheese, grated cheese. There we go. Delicious. And there you have it. We call it Maltese scrambled eggs. Right, so we're back again looking at the next recipe that we're going to be making with our Maltese Special Sauce. Now, this recipe came about, it wasn't a recipe that I got from anywhere, I just put it together myself. It came about because one day I came home and with a family, a young family and a husband, and everybody was hungry, and it was like, what's for dinner? And it was like, quick, go to the fridge, see what I've got and see what I can do. So I always used to keep the Maltese Special Sauce in the fridge. So that was the first thing I grabbed out some pasta, and I put that on to cook straight away, and then I rummaged around to see what else I had. So this recipe we call Maltese chicken and peas. So let's have a look and see what we're going to be using for this. So what we need is some pasta. Now I'm using spaghetti here, but you can use whatever pasta you like. And you could even serve this over rice if you so choose. Then we use chicken. Now that's half a chicken breast chopped up into cubes. 1.5 cups of frozen peas. Now, would it really be a Maltese dish if it didn't have frozen peas? And we've got some diced onion. That's just a medium onion diced. And we have our Maltese Special Sauce in those jars at the back there. So I've also included some mushrooms. I don't normally put mushrooms in this recipe, but I had them in the fridge, they need using, so I thought, yep, that'll go okay with this. And that's what you can do with all the recipes. You can just vary it to your taste. Okay, let's get about making it. Okay, the first thing we need to do is to turn on our hot plate. I'll just adjust that. There we go. Now we'll add some olive oil. And at the back there you can see I'm cooking 2 pots of pasta. One is spaghetti and then another one is some gluten-free spirals. So I'll just stir those. Now, first thing we do is to add our onion. Now, because our Maltese Special Sauce has already got a lot of flavourings in it, as far as salt, pepper and garlic in it, we don't need to add those things as we're cooking. So we'll add the onion and give that a stir. We'll just wait till that starts to cook and then we'll add in our chicken. Turn that up a little bit. So that's just started to cook. So we'll now add in our chicken. Now we want to cook this through to make sure that the chicken is thoroughly cooked. So we're just going to be stirring this over a medium to high heat until that chicken is thoroughly cooked, and then we'll come back. Now the chicken is partly cooked, and I'll throw in those mushrooms. And we'll continue cooking that until the chicken is thoroughly cooked. Right, that chicken has finished cooking. So now we're going to add our sauce. So I've added about 300 ml of sauce. Yep, that looks just right. And now we add our peas, and we just cook it until those peas are warmed through. And there you have it, Maltese chicken and peas.